There's nothing quite like a well-designed intersection. Sometimes you just marvel at how good humans have become at designing infrastructure. However, there's also nothing quite like a terrible intersection that makes you want to find the nearest GTA-looking ramp to just end the misery. I would know because I just moved to Atlanta. Before I started thinking of intersections in general, what a crazy topic, Reddit had already explored this quite well, but I want to continue to bring it to light because, man, some of these intersections are absolute human feats. Feats of what? I'm not sure, but it's definitely entertaining. So join me in this scrubbing of the infrastructure Reddit world. Before we get to the first one, I just want to make the point that I'm analyzing these as a civilian. I'm just a guy, not an engineer, anything like that. So I can't imagine the amount of time it took to engineer these intersections. And then also infrastructure is updated over decades. And there's probably countless obstacles that make these projects super complex. But that doesn't mean they don't look terrible and that they're probably ridiculous and a total nightmare to drive on. So that's kind of what we're going off of. Nothing serious, just I know that the experience of driving on this would probably be pretty horrendous. And you can just look up articles of these intersections and see that there's hundreds of crashes on them. So anyway. All right, so the first one we're going to look at is Dave Thomas Circle in Washington, D.C. Yeah, I mean, you just hop into it on Google Maps, and what an absolute abomination. I can't even begin to make sense of how the roads intersect here, but I can see a major thoroughfare coming right through here, and then a bunch of other roads just stacked on top of each other. And then also, it looks like there's ghost cars in these lanes here. I don't know what that means from a Google Maps perspective, but I don't see that on other intersections, so this is probably a sign that it's a bad intersection. I think the complexity really sets in once you take a bird's eye view look. There's just so much going on. I guess there was also a famous Wendy's that used to be here, so that closed. So negative points for closing the Wendy's. But anyway, I will point out that apparently this intersection has been significantly improved over the past few years, actually very recently, like in 2025. So this article also says that preliminary data says that traffic is flowing better. And I hope it is because they spent $41 million on the, renovation sort of restructure of this intersection. I'm curious about what the people who live here say about this intersection because based on what it looked like before, I feel like there's only so much you can do. And actually, I found a picture of what the after looks like, and it looks better, but if you keep looking, it still kind of sucks, to be honest. There's more green space, though, so that's cool. But yeah, I mean, historically, a ton of crashes here. Probably a nightmare to drive on. Next up, honestly, this might be an even worse one. And we're still in Virginia, by the way, so that's cool. But yeah, it's Seven Corners in Falls Church, Virginia. And to be honest, if you look at this might be genuinely the most confusing and terrifying intersection I've ever seen. And I think that is corroborated by if you look up this intersection on Google and see how many fatal accidents there have been there. It's just kind of crazy. And clearly the reputation is notorious as well. There isn't another intersection that has this many like articles immediately pop up when you search intersection name and then accidents. It's wild. Luckily, there are some plans to revamp this intersection, but it would require some relocating of business around the area. So who knows how long that project would actually take to come to fruition. But yeah, if you just look at this in general, I mean, you even have like a road under the entire intersection. Like they built such a crazy intersection on top of another road already. I don't even know how they did it. I just know wouldn't want to live here. Now, this next one is actually I found on a different Reddit thread, but I like this one I think the most personally because it's been added as a historical landmark on Google Maps under the name the Medford Supercollider. So yeah, this is in Medford, Massachusetts. And again, you just look at it and man, how beautifully terrible is it? As a Massachusetts native, I like this one because it just reminds me of being a kid and all the terrible infrastructure and all of that up there because it's so old. I don't live there anymore. I live in Atlanta, which also has terrible infrastructure. But anyway, every time I go back to Mass and drive, it's a total nightmare. And you can see, because just look at all of the confusing different offshoots on this, whatever you would call it, not a roundabout. I don't know. It's like a ball of spaghetti. I mean, you can see how many opportunities there are to get cut off in this intersection. And then you add in the fact that it's the Boston Metro, and that chance goes up like 20 times. Now, funnily enough, there's not as many articles that immediately come up about this intersection being super dangerous. But if I had to guess, that maybe is because most intersections in Massachusetts are terrible. So that's my guess. They're just used to it. I got a couple more. So I actually got this one from ChatGPT. So this is an intersection in Philadelphia. It's Grand Avenue and Roosevelt Boulevard. And I haven't seen a road like this. I'm sure plenty of other people have, but on one side of the road, there are literally 14 lanes, and it's divided into 4 different sections. There's medians in between all of these sections, which is crazy. I imagine it's because the middle ones are to have a high speed option, and then the side sort of access lanes are for the businesses. However, from an intersection standpoint, that sounds also like a nightmare. I mean, I can't imagine being a pedestrian trying to get it's like you're playing Frogger trying to get across this intersection as a pedestrian. And there's definitely some intersections in the US, I mean, honestly, like Florida specifically, that have these big, ridiculous grid intersections that probably have more lanes too. But this is weird with all of those medians. Like, this one is just feels worse to me. Yeah, I couldn't find too much info about it outside of just what ChatGPT said. So, yeah, I mean, still a good find. Kind of crazy. Okay, so we're almost to the end here. This one is in Williamsport, Pennsylvania, and I just think it's kind of fun. Partially because there's no stoplights, and it's in a smaller town. So it's all stop signs, which I'm sure makes it incredibly fun to end up at this intersection seeing someone 200 yards away on the other side, just not knowing what they're going to do. And then if you're at like this intersection, you want to take a right, you got to make sure that you're not going to get T-boned by the other person coming to the north. Looks fun. And then back to that crosswalk. It's like the size of a football field to get across it. It's not a very pedestrian friendly crosswalk. So I just think it looks ridiculous. It's probably not as many accidents here, but it is terribly designed. Last but not least, we're going to go for a non-US bonus round. And this one is going to be the Magic Roundabout in Swindon, England. This roundabout is like 5 different, or I don't even know, I'm not even looking at it right now, but like a ton of different roundabouts in one roundabout. And I don't even know how it works, but I'm going to look up when I get to the end of this video how it works, because dang, that looks like ridiculous. Okay, so I didn't figure out how it works. I don't know if there's a good explanation out there for that Swindon, UK roundabout. And one thing I wanted to mention at the end here is that I took a look at 5 intersections with a bonus 6th one that I described in 30 seconds. There are over 6 million intersections in the urbanized areas of the United States, so I'm sure this list could go on and on forever. And there are even more on the Reddit thread. So these are just the ones that I picked. And no, it was not incredibly analytical, but it's fun to just see how ridiculous these intersections are because we experience them every day, and sometimes it's fun to go down that rabbit hole. So anyway, hope you enjoyed the video. I am going to have more structured videos coming soon, things that are not analyzing a Reddit thread, and more along the lines of maybe some top 10 lists. Also, even thinking about doing some GeoGuessr stuff, things like that. Severe weather season is coming up, and I love the weather, so I might do some videos around severe weather and tornadoes and things like that from, you know, more of a historical perspective. Anyway, hope you enjoyed the video. Subscribe if you did enjoy it, and I'll see you next time. Peace.